Fun fact, I'm actually enlisted to both armies. Should there be a war, I think technically I'm supposed to show up.
I feel like I had a really good childhood.
I feel like a lot of people don't know, but in Brazil, it's super multicultural.
What was it like growing up as a Korean in Brazil?
I grew up in a time where being Korean wasn't cool.
There was also like a part of my life in which I started getting ashamed of being Asian because in Brazil, being Asian wasn't a thing.
Can you introduce your background?
So I was born and raised in Brazil, studied in the US for college, and been living in Korea for 7 years.
So my name is Aline, and I was born in Brazil, São Paulo, and I lived there for about 27 years. Yeah, and then I went to the US, traveled a little, and then came to Korea about 2019 before COVID happened.
Hey guys, I'm Victor. I'm a content creator. My parents are Korean, but I was born and raised in Brazil, so I'm Brazilian Korean.
Is there a big Brazilian Korean community in Brazil?
I mean, it's not huge, but there is like a big community in São Paulo. I feel like a lot of people don't know, but in Brazil, it's super multicultural. And I guess like there are a lot of Japanese and Korean people in Brazil.
What was it like growing up as a Korean in Brazil?
It was great. I love Brazil, but you have to understand that I grew up in a time where being Korean wasn't cool. I grew up in the time before that where people didn't even know what Korea was. So I had my fair share of go back to your country and being called Japanese, but it was great. I loved it.
People will always mention like, hey, why are eyes so small? Can you see like widescreen? Or because of the big community of Japanese people in São Paulo, they will be like saying arigato, sayonara, sushi, sashimi, that kind of stuff. It was kind of like annoying at first, but then you get used to it. Other than that, I think I grew up very like freely, a lot of nature around, a lot of fun, always going to the park, the beach, always like enjoying time with friends, family, barbecues, of course. I felt like I had a really good childhood.
It was super confusing back then. I didn't know how confusing it was because I didn't think too much about it. I noticed these days, like since I'm more mature and I'm able to think about it, I noticed how much I've tried to fit in and I would never feel like I was fitting in. So there were some years of my life in which I've only wanted to hang out with the Korean people from my church because they viewed and treated me as the same. There was also like a part of my life in which I started getting ashamed of being Asian because in Brazil, being Asian wasn't a thing. The Korean entertainment wasn't a thing at all. And people would bully me because of my Asian features. Yeah. So what is considered bully here? It's not really considered as a bullying in Brazil. For instance, a lot of people just would call me as a Jap, and here I guess or in America, US is super racist. But there you just have to go with the flow and don't take it personally because they don't mean to harm you.
Growing up in Brazil, how did your parents keep the Korean culture alive?
For one thing, they spoke Korean at home, so I think that was big. But we were also active in the Korean immigrant church community, and I think that was big. There are times where it's weird, but sometimes the Korean immigrant society is more Korean than Korean society. It's almost like a Korean society to have like a parallel universe story because they decided to keep some Korean aspects that are lost in Korean society. Yeah, so in some ways, I think that helped me a lot.
I think one of the most important things to keep the culture alive was to always have a Korean meal at home. So no matter what, if you had like breakfast or lunch outside or with friends at night or I don't know, weekends, we'll always have a Korean meal. So kind of like that kept the Korean culture alive. Language as well, of course. I went to this Korean language school Saturdays mornings. I really hate it, but kind of like taught me the Kanadarama, K-pop. It's something like that I like it since I was little. My dad, because he would spoke me very more in Korean, it would be easier for me to communicate and keep the language.
I feel like they did, just not with the language. I kind of feel bad and I asked them to speak Korean to me so many times, but they tend to, they mix like Korean with Portuguese here and there, but they mainly speak Portuguese to me. So I grew up in the Korean community in which they introduced me. So I grew up in a Korean church. I attended a Korean church throughout my whole life. And that's how I got to stay close with my Korean background, I guess.
What surprised you the most the first time you visited Korea?
So I visited Korea when I was really little, like for vacation and stuff. And my mom signed me up for a swimming class in YMCA. And back then, the way people taught swimming in Korea, I kid you not, like literally they would like fold me like a paper ball and toss me in the pool. And just, I guess they believed that babies would just like learn how to swim on the fly. And I was shocked by that. And so I ran out on my Speedos and actually hid under a car. and the cops found me sleeping under my car. So the education system, let's put it that way. The education system, the rigorous education system in Korea was like big culture shock for me.
I was really surprised with the moment with winter. I still remember, and I saw this old lady, 할머니, like sitting on the floor selling, vegetables for a living. I mean, that was really shocking because we don't really grew up looking at the kind of senior people doing that in Brazil. So that was really shocking. This is a funny fact, but I was shocked that here in Korea, people don't say hi at the elevator. So I was the only one saying 안녕하세요 to every single person.
The thing that I felt most surprised is that how much I blend into the Korean society because nobody knows that I'm a foreigner until I talk and I open my mouth. But it's a very unique way of feeling because I grew up being a minority in Brazil. But here I'm sort of, if I don't talk, I'm part of the majority, right? So it's a very strange feeling because I feel comfortable since I know that nobody is gonna make fun about my features and stuff. But I'm also like, I'm not trying to give a bad image of Brazil because I'm also Brazilian, I'm super proud of it. It's just that for Asians, you just have to get used to like some stuff that it's not for you to feel offended. I mean, it's very offensive, but it's not for you to absorb in this way because most of the Brazilian people that say something in a very ignorant manner, it's just because they just don't know, they didn't have access with someone who grew up with this cultural duality.
Were you ever made to feel too Korean in Brazil?
I was made to feel that I'm not fully Brazilian for sure. But it was during, I think, World Cup, and Brazil was playing Japan. And me being Brazilian, right, me and my other Korean Brazilian friends went to like a bar where people were watching like the game to cheer for Brazil, right? Because we want to beat Japanese. Like Korea is rival with Japan, if you don't know. But then they were like, oh, get out of here, Japanese, right? Even though we were wearing Brazilian jerseys, we wanted to root for Brazil to beat Japan. We couldn't join them. So that was one memorable instances where I was made to feel like I didn't belong. But that was one that really stuck in my mind.
Yes, when I went to college, I went to a separate city called Campinas, like a countryside of São Paulo, like an hour distance. And literally, there were like no Koreans at all. So that was the first time I felt like, oh, maybe one of the only Koreans in this university or so. So yeah, that made me feel very, very Korean because I was the one bringing like ramyeon and all the weird kwajas. So that made me feel very Korean.
Oh yeah, and that's where it taps into the cultural duality, in which is very confusing and it's very hard for me to express as well. Like for instance, because I have so many traumas to share, but it's not like I'm a victim. It seems like I'm not proud of being Brazilian, but I love Brazil. I'm just talking about this nuances, right? So I had like this BFF in which he was white and he would always make sort of jokes in which for a long while I tried to just take it as a joke, but it started hurting me. I told him, and then I was the one who became the villain of the story. And him and the other people that I used to hang out, they thought I was just like being someone who's not able to be playful and take stuff as a joke.
Are Brazilians welcome to foreigners?
Yeah. I mean, Brazil is like a country of immigrants, right? Like you can't point to a certain ethnicity and say, oh, that's Brazilian, right? It's a mix. And so I would say they're welcoming.
Yes, every time. We are a country of like many, many different languages, cultures, religions, so we're always welcoming. I think in the nature of the Brazilians are very warm, receptive, kind. Even if we don't know you, we'll always help you with like directions or whatever you need. Even if they don't really sometimes speak, perfect English, they will find a way to help you no matter what.
Yeah, so that's like something that I really like about Brazil because Brazilian people are super extroverted. They embrace people. So I feel like in Korea, for you to become friends with another Korean, and it's not a bad thing, but it takes time. It's a gradual thing in which you have to hang out with the person for a couple of times to bond together. But in Brazil, you might as well just hang out once and you become BFFs with the person. And because Brazil knows how to embrace people. That's something that whenever I'm traveling abroad, it's something that I really misses, this warm feeling that I have in Brazil. It only exists in Brazil.
What are Brazilian habits that would shock Koreans?
I wouldn't say it's habits, but like culturally, Brazilians are super laid back, right? So their sense of time, and I don't speak for all Brazilians, but generally speaking, right? They have a very flexible sense of time where like, it's okay to be late, a little bit, like, and people who who are waiting are also okay. In Korea, it's like very pali, right? And it's like very punctual and like everything in a hurry. And so I think Koreans would be surprised at how leisurely and how late things take to get done.
What citizenship do you have?
I have dual citizenship, so I'm Brazilian and Korean. Fun fact, I'm actually enlisted to both armies. So in Brazil, all males are like forced to be enlisted, but they only select a few people. I didn't get selected. But should there be a war, I think technically I'm supposed to show up.
Team lunch meetings, we will just do like 2 hours lunch meetings. It's quite shocking to Koreans because I see Koreans like eating, brushing their teeth, everything in like half an hour, like they're standing and doing and finishing everything. While Brazilians are very like chill, calm, talking, sometimes about business, about just weekends. But yeah, we really take our time to just enjoy, have a relaxing moment during the lunch. And then, of course, always have like a coffee after. So there's like a icha. So we go for coffee, like a small dessert always. And then we go back to work. I think that's kind of really shocking for any Koreans around.
How Brazilians are super easygoing with their lives, and also I guess when you get to meet a person, you just hug and kiss someone's on the cheek, and I feel like in Korea you don't do that often, right?
Do you think Korean Brazilians are seen differently in Korea?
Yes, Korean Brazilians, just Korean foreigners in general, Kyopos or Dongpos in general I think a lot of Koreans look at Kyopos and think they're very spoiled, they're very naive, and with good reason. To a certain extent, I think it is justified. Korean foreigners, Kyopos, they do have a stereotype as for how they are.
How do Brazilians view Koreans?
Very systematic, very organized.
I feel like these days Brazilians are having like a positive view about Korea itself, and I tend to share a lot about the Korean culture with my followers, and I'm happy that it gets like some sort of good attention, I guess, and they are very curious about it. But I know that back then, a long time ago when I was a kid, it wasn't like that.